All right, how's it going, everybody? This is the Osmo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. We have a 9-game slate, I think it is, going on tonight. Bunch of early games, so hopefully you made some money on the early slate. I saw Duclair got, he was the nuts on the early slate, right? Duclair, Texier for Columbus. Anyways, so I did not have those guys. Did not go as planned. Last night went okay. Actually, it went pretty well. Kind of got bailed out at the end with the McKinnon empty netter or whatever. But we do have, I think we got a pretty good slate. And looking at the ownership projections for tonight, I really like how it's setting up. Well, by the way, the ownership projections are for like the large field tournament, like the $10 that we look at on lineup study. If anybody's wondering, we get that asked every once in a while, but just want to reiterate, it's going to vary in tournaments that different tournaments based on entry size and all that. So if you're a premium member, check out the ownership projections. They've been helping me quite a bit. Thank you, Boom. I'm glad. Boom, you must not have been watching yesterday. I got a haircut yesterday, so yeah. Boom always supporting the show, always supporting the channel. I'm sure he was pretty pumped about the McKinnon empty netter last night. Probably made him a little bit more money. He's a big McKinnon guy. NHL lineup builder today is free, by the way. If anybody wants to check that out, there's your link. Right there. Mac empty netter. Yeah. So we got bailed out there for sure. If you want to build some lineups, use this as your lineups page. You have all the premium features today. So use that link. You have to click on that link. Otherwise, you will not be able to access it. But it's right there in the YouTube chat. So try that out. You can export straight from here. You can build on DraftKings or FanDuel. We don't have Yahoo yet. I think that's being worked on. FanDuel ownership is also being worked on. We've talked about top stack tool and all that for NHL. So these things are being worked on by the smart people in the background, Alex and everyone else that helps put out so many good tools that we all use every day. Other free stuff today, the NBA fantasy projections. Those are also free. So if you're playing NBA tonight, I think it's a pretty short slate, but try those out. Those are from Alex himself. These are the ones that he uses to generate lineups, and then he does a ton of other stuff after the fact. But you've got the tools right here. The one big tool, especially in a sport that's so projectable like NBA, pretty valuable resource. So if you're kind of a novice NBA player, I would suggest using those. If you're playing over on Yahoo tonight, which I suggest you do, basically every night, I suggest you play over on Yahoo. Not just because they're the presenting sponsor, but also because lower management fees, really good place to start playing DFS and see if you can become a profitable player, because you're just going to pay less to enter contests in Yahoo compared to DraftKings and FanDuel. So looking at some of the contests tonight for Yahoo NHL, they've got $200 to first. I've been grinding this tournament basically every night for the past couple weeks, and it's gone pretty well. So can't play my 150 over here, but you can do some 3-max. So if you like hand building, you can also use Fantasy Cruncher or whatever optimizer you guys like. I like using Fantasy Cruncher, but you can. They have CSV edit now as well. So once you get the hang of that, upload your lineups. They've got NBA. This baller seems to fill pretty much every night early, so you're gonna have to get in that pretty early. If you want to play some NBA over there and chase this 5K top prize tomorrow for NFL. Everybody plays NFL, right? I'm usually donating money every Sunday, but I'll be playing some on Yahoo and probably getting in the lower stake stuff. So maybe like this $1 and the $7. I don't know if I'm going to chase the baller tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. Maybe if we get a decent cash tonight, then maybe I'll fire away in this 175K baller over on Yahoo. Use promo code awesome to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points when you do join. Helps you out, helps us out, obviously. And so, yeah, I think it's a pretty good deal. NFL ownership projections, by the way, are free today. So you're not going to get them on the actual day of the slate starting. They'll change a little bit, obviously, but who do we got being chalky today for tomorrow's slate? Saquon, Chris Carson, $7,500. That seems a little expensive, right? I mean, I don't know. I usually just do the projections, let it fire, stack a few games, and see what happens. Like I said, usually donating, but with these tools, at least I can have some competitive lineups, and that's all you're looking for with the massive prizes across the board for NFL. At least for me, as a novice player. Yahoo won't play in Florida, even though DK and FanDuel are here. Yeah, I wonder why that is. Oh, okay, Penny's out. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't follow the NFL news. I just rely on the tools. So, where's Chubb? I don't know. You can find him, Boom. It's free today. I mean, you're a premium member anyways, so you can find him wherever. Chubb's down here, 3.5%. All in for Boom. Army, Navy. Is that game going on right now? Very nice. I'm not a big college football guy, but I don't know. I've probably mentioned that in a couple shows. Anyways, so that's the free stuff. NHL lineup study from last night. It was a 2-gamer. I mean, these things are wild. I thought I was buried for a while. I ended up getting into third place. I kind of stopped tracking it, and yeah, I guess the McKinnon empty netter did me some good. So ended up being a pretty good night. 1-man Wolfpack. Let's look at his lineup, and then maybe we'll check out his exposures. It's always interesting to me to look at exposures on like 2-game slates because just to see the different styles of play. If people have a flat ownership across the board, or if they're like kind of going all in on a couple guys and going more of a core. Not necessarily. Yeah, I don't think either of those is wrong, depending on what you're trying to do. But 1-man Wolfpack, 157.1. Stevenson, Stone, Pacioretty, Vegas 2 full stack. Then we have Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn. Left out, what's his name? Matthias Janmark, went Lindell. Maybe he had Klingberg in here. No, he didn't have Klingberg because he had $50K in salary. But certainly the Klingberg news helped 1-man Wolfpack in this specific lineup because probably a little bit of a bump time for Lindell. I didn't even see what he actually ended up playing, but I global swapped. So I was out and I global swapped to Essa Lindell and just left whatever salary I had left over. 21.6 points, ended up working out. He's not even really a guy I look to play, but I just had to global swap. I didn't have time to use late swaptimizer or whatever. So worked out for me, worked out for 1-man Wolfpack. McNabb, I think he came out firing with like 3 shots on net. I thought we were going to see the Braden McNabb ceiling game here, but 7.1 points certainly didn't kill him for 2,600. Okay, so there you go. 1-man Wolfpack, really good player. Maxed it, took it down. There you go. Some familiar names up here. My top lineup was right here. Stevenson, Carlson, Stone, Pacioretty, Smith. So basically a Vegas Josh stack, 6 players. Didn't correlate the goalie. I don't really force in correlated goalie on 2-game slates because, well, you kind of can't. You're really limiting yourself if you unless you're like allowing 2 or 3 or 4 players against your goalie. But I allowed 1 against my goalie. This lineup I had 0. So that rule ended up not really mattering. But Vegas Josh stack, I like Nate Schmidt. I had quite a bit of him. Price is coming down. He's still playing big minutes. Still correlates pretty well to the Carlson line. And so that's why you're seeing him in the lineup here. Played on the power play with them. McKinnon one off, kind of self-explanatory. And then Francouz, 31.4. He was the guy you needed, even at 8,400. Roman Polak, $3,100, 12.5 points. It feels like I go in spurts where I play this guy randomly when he's super cheap. And whatever. Got pretty lucky there. Can't really rely on double-digit points from Polak anytime soon. So there you go. That was last night. I like those 2 gamers. I don't know. Feel like I can play everyone. Kind of joke about that, but you kind of can play everyone on a 2-gamer if you've got 100 lineups. Boils down to what's your line construction, and did you have the nut combo, I suppose. I usually run two or three uniques on those. Yeah, the block bonus. I mean, yeah, that's what you're looking for out of him. Okay, let's talk about the games. Like I said, pretty good slate because there's a couple spots that are pretty chalky, but outside of that, and they're not even that chalky, right? 2 gamers are not. I don't think 2 gamers are all luck. I mean, there's still skill. There's maybe more luck, but yeah. So we've got Montreal kind of being pretty popular. Taking a look at the ownership projections, Boston 1, pretty affordable for Boston 1 at least, and then in a decent spot, we've got some St. Louis skaters up there, but right now we don't have anyone at 20%, and that's a little surprising me. I think maybe in this game actually we might see some players at 20%, namely Gallagher, depending on which tournament. Mantha in. Nice. Perfect. Wait, is he not? Oh yeah, he's on the screen. There we go. Wow. I didn't even notice his price. Not that I'm playing a lot of Detroit, but jeez. Actually, let me download this crunch that I've got right here and see. This is probably not gonna be very interesting to you guys while I do this really quick, but here, okay, here's this crunch I got going on, so I can kind of get an idea what my exposures are gonna be like once I trim down the lineups. I usually put it into Excel and just cancel out some of the lineups that are going to be super chalky. I'm running a lot of 3-3s tonight. That's pretty much par for the course. Some 4-3-1 will certainly get mixed in, and we will go from there. Got 150. I actually reserved my lineups before the show, like a responsible person, and so I'm good on that front. Not going to forget this time. Nothing really surprising about my exposures, to be honest. But we're going to talk about it lots in this game, specifically on one side. Is it Zibanejad again? Or Panarin Zibanejad? Man, the Rangers scoring some goals lately. Nice. All right, Detroit, Montreal, 2.5 implied total for the Red Wings. 3.6 for Montreal. Jonathan Bernier and Carey Price expected to go here. And chalkiest team on the slate right now as a whole. Deneau, Tatar, Gallagher. We don't even really need to talk about them that much. They're either going to be my top or probably second most exposed stack. Pretty much over the field, and about double the field on all of their skaters right now. They're going to be probably in around 25 to 30% of my lineups, somewhere in that range. It is a 9-game slate, so I don't want to go all in. That's just not really my play style. Maybe me a couple of years ago, I might try to go all in, but now I like to diversify a little bit more and not lose 100% 5 out of 7 nights or whatever. So I think they're going to go up against Larkin, Bertuzzi, Fabry. In fact, I think that's a pretty good, pretty much a certainty. So what happens with Mantha being back, right? Like, do we think he sticks here with Filppula and Zadina? Probably not, if I had to guess. Like, if this game starts looking ugly soon, or shortly into the game, probably we'll see Mantha slide up with Larkin, Bertuzzi. If it's close, he's probably going to slide up there as well, right? At least I would think so if they're down a couple goals later in the game. So I think you could still play Mantha with Larkin, Bertuzzi. Fabry's been solid. I mean, he scored a couple goals last game. they've been pretty bad defensively, the Larkin line, and you would expect that to be the case again. Going up against an elite line, Montreal 1, I think is a pretty brutal matchup for them. At least defensively, I think they're going to have a tough time keeping pucks out of their zone. So the Larkin line would be the one I would want to play on Detroit. Right now, I'm getting to about 5% of them, which actually right now is above the field. But, I mean, very much an afterthought for me on this slate. Denotes Tar Gallagher priority. If I was playing one lineup, they would probably be in it. I don't really care that they're the chalkiest line of the night. I think it's the best spot on the night, and I think Montreal 2 is also going to get some ownership. Domi, Yoel Armia, and Lehkonen, those guys are, they're all really, or they're affordable. They're also going to have a good matchup. I just prefer Denotes Tar Gallagher when the ownerships are, well, let's see where they're at. They are, yeah, so Montreal won a little bit chalkier. You're getting Armia and Lehkonen well into single digits. At least that's how we have it projected. I'm going to be over on Montreal too, so don't get me wrong. Like, I don't like him, but I'm probably just going to have, I am going to have more Montreal 1 by a pretty good margin. I'm on Detroit tonight. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be contrarian. So I guess I'm on Detroit too, right? If I'm over the field on Detroit 1, but it's not like a spot where I look at it and it's like, yeah, gotta hammer some Detroit here. I've kind of overrated the Dano line as far as being shut down. I think they're still giving up like 2.5 expected goals against per 60, which isn't actually very good. So yeah, I mean, if you just go by that math with Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Fabry being cheap, going up against a line that does give up some high danger chances and all that, they're cheap. It's a good price for Detroit 1 if you're looking to play them. So more of an optimizer play for me rather than like a play I'm really excited to get after. Weber, Petrie. I feel like I always choose wrong between these cats. I have more Petrie right now just because, man, is Petrie going to give me another 1.5? He crushed me the other night. I was on all the good stuff, and I had Petrie in half my lineups at 1.5. But I'm going right back to him. Actually, I have more Weber. I didn't even notice this. Those are my two highest owned defensemen. I'm probably going to create a rule, if I remember to do this, where I only play one of them in a lineup, even though you can see a scenario where they both get there. Like, probably limits your upside a little bit. They're probably a little bit negatively correlated. That being said, they like Weber could have 25 and Petrie could easily have 15 if they both scored a goal or whatever. I think there's going to be goals to go around. So, not the end of the world if you play them together in the same lineup. It might be something that I look to avoid, though. Hronik on the Detroit side is the clear guy that I want. He's been really low owned, and I know he's on the top power play. I don't have much of him right now. I would like to get to a little bit of him, especially if I'm going with Detroit 1 in a few of my 150. Boom likes Detroit 2. I mean, it's nice with Manta there, but if they were priced, I guess as a whole, they're priced pretty appropriately. The Manta price just looks kind of gross, playing with Filppula and not Larkin. All right, let's go to this game. Washington, Tampa. We've got Ilya Samsonov and Andrei Vasilevsky in net. 3.2 implied total for the Caps. 3.3 for the Lightning. This game is actually one that I don't have much exposure to, which is pretty worrisome. Because, let's see. Do we have the ownerships up here? We don't have the ownerships up here. We don't actually have this projected to be a game with a ton of ownership. Like, you've got Kucherov in double digits and then Ovi in double digits, but the stacks aren't that crazy. Montreal is going to be higher owned than them. It's looking like The line I kind of like here the best, and this is one that I've been on recently, is Cirelli, Killorn, and Stamkos. Kuznetsov, Verana, Oshie. I know Oshie had a couple goals in the last game against Boston. They kind of got crushed at 5-on-5. Backstrom, Ovechkin, and Wilson. It's not great defensively. So I'm more on the Lightning side, if I had to choose one side. And I kind of like I mentioned, kind of like Cirelli, Killorn, and Stamkos. So that's going to be a line I get to as more of a secondary play. But, man, I'm just eating all the chalk, it looks like, tonight. Which, that's kind of par for the course, I think. But I think the chalk is good, and I don't think it's really chalk enough. Cooch is due. Cooch, it feels like he is, right? Feels like a pretty good spot to get tame ownership, I should say, on Tampa 1 or Tampa power play. Kucherov, Point, Stamkos. If you can somehow lock those guys in with Hedman, you're looking at a pretty good spot against backup Ford Washington. So if I was doing a bunch of power play stacks, then Tampa would certainly make the cut right now. Their top line's getting squeezed out a little bit for me. Go Contrarian, Montreal 1, Arizona 1. Yeah. Have fun tying with 300 people at the top, Seth. Like in a showdown NFL where all the chalk goes nuts. No Stamkos. Overperforming guys, don't fall for that. Boom's trolling. Boom loves the Lightning too. Okay, I think it's going to be a pretty good 5-on-5 spot for Cirelli, Stamkos, and Killorn. And I just kind of like that line. Two guys in the top power play. They're usually lower owned than Point and Kucherov. So there you go. 7,300 for Carlson. This guy just keeps scoring points. I'm not really making a big stand on him tonight. If I end up with a few Carlson chairs, I'm never going to be mad about it. His price has come down a little bit, but I like the other two guys better. I like Weber better than him, but most people do too. And then Clefbaum, I love a ton. Rather tie for first than finish last. I agree. People are talking about the early slate. Okay. Yeah, so hoping this one stays somewhat quiet. Maybe a couple Stamkos goals is what I'll be rooting for. That one makes me nervous, though, to not have some more exposure to. But I am pretty heavy on some of the other chalkier spots. Boston, Florida, 3.1 implied total for the Bruins. 2.9 for the Panthers, Tuukka Rask, and Sergei Bobrovsky in net. So here we've got a couple of, I don't know if you can call Boston an optimizer play, because they're not cheap. Like, you think of optimizer plays as just cheap plays that are getting tossed in because they're good value. Boston they're expensive, but relative to Boston 1, not that expensive. They're probably not going to decide my night either, because we've got them at about 14-15% in total if you average out the three ownerships. For the ownership for the three guys, we take the average. 14-15% as a stack, it looks like. Per usual, they're getting ownership. It is a pretty good spot, though, against Barkov, Huberdeau, Dadonov. Not really a line I'm avoiding going up against. The question is, what do I want to do with Florida 1? Because if this game was in Boston, I'd probably have a lot less interest in Florida 1, but we're showing their ownership being very low. And even if it's like 4 or 5%, I think that's a spot where I'm going to be overweight on Florida 1. So right now, they're actually like a top 5 or 6 stack for me, somewhere in there. Maybe I don't need 15% of Florida 1 if they're going to be 2% owned or whatever. Hopefully, they don't hard match for my Florida 1 shares. But I think there's a pretty good chance that they see a lot of Boston 1. So I am worried, but I think the ownership is too low. Dadnoff and Huberdeau should not be under 3%. So I'll take a stab on a line that's fully correlated. Tough 5-on-5 spot for sure, but they're also really good at 5-on-5. So that's kind of my thoughts on Florida 1. Did not think I would be this overweight on them, but that's what it's going to be. They might reach double digits for me in exposure, which is going to put me in a really good spot if they can perform well. We talked about Boston 1. Like, Boston 1 stinks to talk about because they're always chalky, they're always expensive, but they're like one of the worst fades. Maybe Colorado 1. McKinnon is probably the worst fade right now, like the guy you feel worst about fading. But when Boston 1's right, feels like they not only do well in the first couple periods, but then they're always on the ice for the empty net situations, and it's just a mess if you fade them, and you have to sweat out the last few minutes when they've got a 1-goal lead. It feels like they score every single time, an empty netter. So we will see, but I like both top lines here. I will be making quite a stand on Florida 1, it appears. As always, just be aware of what you're doing when you're fitting in Boston 1. Like if you're doing a 3-3 and you're stacking up Arizona 1 or whatever, get different with your defenseman. Like use our projections. Take someone that's a few percent owned. Don't slam in Petrie and another chalk 4K defender or whatever. I don't even know if that math adds up, but you get what I'm saying. I don't really love any other lines in this game. Scrolling through, defenseman. I don't know. Is McAvoy good again for DFS? What's going on with him lately? $4,200 for McAvoy. Probably going to skate a lot with Boston 1 at 5-on-5. I will enjoy watching that game tonight on my TV. Local Florida guy here. Nice. Yeah, Boston 1. I wouldn't want to root for my team when Boston 1's got it going against my team. That'd be pretty brutal. They're just so good. That's really all I got in this game. The defensemen aren't heavy targets of mine. I'm kind of going after just a few defensemen tonight. It looks like that I really love, and we've already mentioned a couple of them, Petrie and Weber. I get that they're popular. I think Clefbaum's going to be a little bit underowned though too. Kings, Pens, 3.2 implied total for the Pens, 2.4 for the Kings. There it is. Boom says the easy fade for Boston 1. You have fun with that. They're never easy fade. Quick and Tristan Jari. Doc Emmerich was saying it was Jari. He was calling him Jari the other night when I was watching it. So I'm assuming he knows. So we'll go with Jari today. I go back and forth every time on him. However, it looks like Malkin's not going to be playing. And if he's not going to be playing, well, that stinks for a number of reasons. Because you guys know I love me some Pitt 1. I would be probably pretty heavy on Pitt 1. And that would probably lower my Florida 1 exposure and Edmonton 1 and Montreal 1 a little bit to make room for some Pitt 1 in my crunch. However, without Pitt 1, without Malkin, you don't have a center on the top line probably. Simone, Gensel, and Rust spent a bunch of time together last game. Would assume they go with that again. And they got a shutout last game. So I think that's actually a pretty fair assumption. So no center. Makes it tough when I want to do 3-3. If you want to figure out a way to jam them in and maybe go power play stack with the other stack or something like that, or just some one-offs with Simone, Gensel, and Rust, you can make it work. I mean, there's always centers you can one-off. There's always players you can one-off that are cheap. So you can make it work. Without Malkin, I'm probably not going to try to make it work all that tough or all that hard. Kopitar, I follow Brown on the other side. Not really interested, to be honest. This game is pretty gross without Malkin. So I love the way Gensel's playing. Rust has been active, just in a good situation and on the top power play. You can play Letang at 6,600, but he'd be more of a one-off. I guess Pitt 2 is I mean, they're just dirt cheap. So I'm actually surprised Pitt 2 is not getting some more steam from our ownership projections. We got them actually really, really low owned and going to get a favorable matchup against Carter, Lewis, and Clifford. Plus, although LA3 has been pretty good, is it definitely Simone and not Galchenyuk? That's a pretty good question, actually. But either way, you're going to get a cheap winger. Winger that's the tough part, right? Like, it's just hard to play 3 wings. It messes it up on DraftKings. So if I really love the spot for Pitt 1 without Malkin, I would try to figure out a way to make it work. Maybe with Galchenyuk, you might get really low ownership and full correlation if you go 3 Pitt 1 guys. I doubt I'm going to get too much Pitt 1, though. I just like other spots better. It messes up the roster construction that I'm trying to get to. And Letang is not like a slam dunk play for me tonight. So, a bunch of confounding factors there, confounding variables. Pitt 2 is kind of the one that I'm actually getting to here. McCann, Aston Reese, and Cahoon. Keep an eye out for these line combos, though. It's a good point by Kellen in the YouTube chat, because actually Rust, Gensel, and Galchenyuk did skate a bunch last game together. So I'll be looking for these, getting premium slack. If you're not, you'll know the lines at 6:30 Eastern. So got about half hour, 25 minutes to adjust. Seems like there's always some weird stuff happening on Saturdays. So possible edge if you're going to be around. And you're able to get the correct combinations, which is huge. Philadelphia, Minnesota, 2.7 implied total for the Flyers, 2.8 for the Wild. Carter Hart expected to go against Alex Stalock, who is confirmed for the Wild. The Wild, they really like to, at least lately, they've been liking to match up Eriksson at Greenway and Cunnin against opposing top competition. And you know, that does take some ice time away from Stahl, Zucker, Zuccarello. Those guys are still going to play some, as will Donato, Parisi, and Fiala. I'm always drawn to this Minnesota 2 line. But the numbers I like to look at really, really hate targeting against Philly. I like to look at like all strengths, not just 5-on-5 stuff. Well, that's obvious. Like, I'm saying obvious stuff, but Philly doesn't take a lot of penalties. They're good on the kill. Minnesota, not really a great power play team. They've got 3 lines that are all going to get pretty good ice time. And Cunnin, Greenway, and Eriksson Ek, like, none of them play on the power play. So they're dirt cheap. I suppose you could play them just because they're going to play a lot, but they're probably going to play a lot against Couturier, Giroux, and Voracek, and that is not a great matchup. You guys know my thoughts on Couturier, so it would just be as a way to get in another share or two of, Boston 1 or Edmonton 1 or something like that as a reason to why you'd want to play Minnesota 3. I'm guessing if you guys have run crunches already or, started filling out your lineups, like Philly 1's probably not going to pop, right? For some reason, I kind of like them here, but I'm not getting to them with projections. And I think I want to play, like, this is a really talented line. Couturier, Giroux, and Voracek, they've had success historically together going back to last season. And I love when these teams kind of have these low or middling totals, so 2.7 implied here, but they're just stacked up on one line, because if they've got it going, and Philly has an outlier performance, 3, 4, 5 goals or something, especially with Minnesota so weak down the middle. No Koivu. Stahl is, he played last game somehow. But no Koivu does hurt them, certainly. Eriksson at Greenway and Cunnin, they've been okay, but not really a line you need to avoid going up against. So I'm going to force in some Couturier, Giroux, and Voracek. Where do we have them right now? Oh, we've got Giroux at almost 7%. Couturier, not Logan Couture. Yeah, I guess they are actually getting some ownership. But I do like it. I like Philly 1. I thought maybe they would be lower owned because of this total, but I'm expecting some concentrated scoring here if they keep this line together. I don't know. Hard to tell, right? I mean, you could make the narrative go both ways on the Lindblom situation. Just a terrible, terrible situation. Dumba up to 5,600. Not exactly sure why. He hasn't done much this season. So maybe DK knows something, right? Maybe this is a spot where you could just get Dumba. But like I said, if it was a great power play spot, I'd probably be willing to pay 5,600 a bunch of times for Dumba. It's not really a spot that I'm really loving for Minnesota. So I mentioned line 3 is just a pure punt line that's going to play a bunch of minutes. I'd probably be more likely to get to Donato, Parisi, and Fiala, but I don't think I'm going to have a Minnesota line above like 3-4%. And to me, that's just filler stack material. They're not anywhere near priority plays. Philly's tough. What's Philly's record, by the way? Does anybody know this? I'm sure we've got some Philly fans in chat. You guys are from all over the place. Philly is where? Oh, Flyers 17-9 and 5. Wow. Yeah, they are pretty good. I mean, I would expect them to be pretty good. Blackwood number 1 goalie on the slate. Is that true? Do we have him projected as number 1? No, I don't think Blackwood's number 1 on the slate. No, we've got him way down there, actually. Okay, let's go to the next game. That one's not super interesting, although this one is. Leafs, Oilers, 3.3 implied total for the Leafs, 3.1 for the Oilers. Anderson, Koskinen expected to go. They have loaded up Edmonton 1 again. That means I load them up into my lineups. I think it's a pretty good spot for McDavid, Draisaitl, and Kassian. I mean, basically every spot is good for McDavid. It seems like, although I needed a little bit more out of him in the last couple nights ago in Minnesota, actually. So hard not to like McDavid and Draisaitl back together. Whenever they're together, they just project so well. I don't really have a problem keeping in Zach Kassian. He's always lower owned. He does, like, he scores some goals. And good chance that he's on the ice that he's getting assists or somehow getting into the play. Let's see, people posting Detroit lineup. Okay. Oops. There you go. Well, there's your Detroit Red Wings lineup. How do I X out of this? There we go. Atlanta here, so I root for the Thrashers. That's funny. All right. Edmonton 1 right now, my top owned stack. Is that a hot take? I wonder if it is. So, for similar reasons why I love, why I talked about wanting to get to some Philly, you've got just a stacked top line here. If you wanted to go Nugent Hopkins over Zach Kassian, that's fine. I wouldn't begrudge anyone for doing that. Just because of the power play, or Neil, if you wanted to get different here. But a lot of people leave off Zach Kassian anyways. I think I'm going to keep him on. Maybe go through my lineups and take out him and put in Nugent Hopkins where I can make it work. But in the majority of my Edmonton 1, it's going to include Zach Kassian. As far as matchups go, Tavares, Marner, Hyman, not a line I don't think you need to worry about. With Edmonton 1, I don't think you really need to worry about anyone with Edmonton 1. They're that good. Matthews, Nylander, Kapanen, that's also not a line I'm worried about at all defensively. So I think that's who McDavid's going to spend most of his time against, and it's going to be high event. And Freddie Anderson in net, that's a concern because he's one of the better goalies, right? But I just love Edmonton 1. Like I said, number 1 stack. Also, the reason they're my number 1 stack right now is just because I love Clefbaum so much. 6K. Yeah, defense versus the Leafs. He's just been a machine. Putting shots on goal, getting blocks. He's gonna have chances for that. I'm hoping for the double bonus here out of Clefbaum. He's like $600-700. Cassian. I don't know. Am I saying that wrong? Whatever, man. I get names wrong all the time. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, give me Clefbaum. I think he should be priced at 7K. I wouldn't. If he was the highest priced defenseman on the slate tonight, I would be like, yep, that sounds about right. Cassian. Okay. Yeah, man, he's just a stud. He's right up there, like the Montreal guys, for guys that want to play tonight. One off, play him with McDavid, Draisaitl, do whatever you want. Elite play tonight, in my opinion. Now, the line I'm getting to on the Toronto side, which is usually the case, is Tavares, Marner, and Hyman. And that kind of stinks because they've been having really good results lately. And, you don't really like to jump on a line. I haven't been in on the party lately. So now jumping on them when they've got a good total and it appears to be a pretty good matchup. Kind of not my favorite thing to do. But I guess I wouldn't even call it like jumping on them that much. They're a secondary play for me right now, to be honest. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of Edmonton 1, and hoping this game doesn't shoot out, or if it does, maybe some Kerfoot goals or Trevor Moore gets a couple for Toronto, because I'm going to be very, very light on the Toronto side. I don't have Edmonton being that terrible of a team defensively, and this ownership, I think, for the Matthews line and for the Tavares line to some extent, I think is a little bit higher than what it should be. So, like, I'd rather take some stabs at Florida 1 at their ownership than Toronto 1 and 2. I think that's more of a profitable play long term than these Toronto lines. And I just hate trying to pick between these Toronto lines. Washington goalie was Samsonov. Yeah. I believe he is confirmed, not even just likely. Okay. Next game. I was fawning all over Clefbaum. Nurse at 4,300, also a very good value, and a guy that I'm playing a bunch of. The only problem with him is that he's just not on the top power play. But that's a problem I can get over. I'm probably going to have double digits of him, maybe closer to 15-20% of Nurse as well. Blackhawks, Blues, one of the few late games. Don't have that many. 13 minutes to close this out. All right, we could do that. Hawks, Blues, 2.4 implied total for the Hawks, 3.1 for the Blues. Corey Crawford, Jordan Binnington in net. Kyrou, Shen, Schwartz. That's your Blues, I guess, top line, you call it. O'Reilly, Perron, Bozak. Second line, clear top six, whatever you want to call it. For the Blues, no shock to anyone. I'm targeting against the Blackhawks, especially when they're on the road. Matchups here, probably going to see O'Reilly, Perron against Strome, DeBrincat, Kane, if I had to guess. I think that's an elite matchup for O'Reilly and Perron. Maybe they're going to be more worried about, trying to shut down Kane, Strome, DeBrincat. Maybe they get a lot of defensive zone faceoffs. Doesn't really matter to me. That line's just not. They're just not good defensively, and even offensively. They don't even generate that much offensively in the way of scoring and high danger chances. So I'm attacking the Blues. I'm attacking the Blackhawks with Blues. They're popular. I think they're popular for a great reason. Crawford in net. Doesn't really matter to me. Blues top six is way too cheap. So yes, this is an optimizer play. But I think it's a really, 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 really good spot for the Blues. So I will be all over the top two lines. If I was playing one lineup and I'm thinking about playing a Blue stack, I think it would be O'Reilly, Perron, and Bozak. That's the line I like a little bit better. I wonder if Kyrou being on the top line at 2,600 is going to bring up the Blues one ownership. And that's fine if it does. Like, I'm not saying I'm avoiding St. Louis or anything like that, but let's see where I have O'Reilly. Yeah, I need to bump up O'Reilly and Perron and Bozak a little bit. I'm not quite getting to enough of them right now. Same thing with the Shen line. But the problem is, like, so this is, I guess, the problem with the Blues is just that they're so cheap that if you play them, especially this line, like, you can just fit in whatever you want. So you can fit in, your Edmonton one or your Boston one with them. And so that's going to make it a little bit difficult to get unique lineups with them. Edmonton 1 over Florida 1 for me, yeah. Yeah, it would be Edmonton 1 over Florida 1. But as far as like a line I'm going to be more overweight on relative to the field, I guess it would be Florida 1. So if you want to get different, like if there were a Q tonight, is there a Q tonight? I don't think there is. But if there was, I think I would be considering Florida 1. And you'd probably be the only one, maybe one of a couple people in the queue out of 80 entries or whatever with Florida 1. And over the long term, I think that's probably a profitable play. Probably not, more likely than not that it's not going to work out tonight. But that's why you continue to grind these slates and hopefully make profitable plays along the way and run into some positive variance at some point. Pietrangelo, Parayko, 5,800 for Pietrangelo. Parayko at 4,100. I like Parayko a lot for that price, especially if he's going to get a little bit of power play time, playing the minutes, blocking shots, putting shots on net, and I think just too cheap. And he won't even be the highest owned guy on his team. So Pietrangelo, great as well. No problem with him at all. Give me all the Blues here. I've got basically nothing on. Well, I shouldn't say I have nothing on the Chicago side. I think I like the Tays line better than the Kane line. So again, not a priority for me. I think that's pretty clear based on what you guys think, what you guys know about how I think about the Hawks. But I really, really do enjoy Kubelik up there with Tays and Saad. They've been high event, which I like. Whereas you got the big names, Kane and DeBrincat, with Strome fully correlated on the power play. I get it, but if that line beats me tonight, I am good moving on and tackling the next slate. Devils, Coyotes, 2.4 implied total for the Devils, 3.1 for the Coyotes. Mackenzie Blackwood, Darcy Kemper in net. No Taylor Hall for the Devils. Do we just cross them off? Maybe. I'm not crossing them off, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be crossed off in theory. I'm getting to some of the Coleman, Zajac, Nikita Gusev line. They're so bad without Hall. They're terrible with him, right? Like, how are they going to generate offense? I know these Arizona lines haven't been fantastic at 5-on-5. In fact, they haven't even been good. But if I had to pick a line, it would be New Jersey 2, and who knows? I'm pretty much good calling it on them. Blackwood, I suppose, is a pretty interesting play just because he's 6,900 and not a massive total going up against him. Probably going to see some volume, but I have 6% of him right now, and that's probably the cap that I'm going to play him. We need your best D-men under 3K recommendations. All right, let's see. It's pretty ugly. I like paying up. Matheson. I'm playing some Matheson for Florida. Marino. Is he 3K? 3,400. My bad. What's Matheson at? Matheson's 26. Getting to some Sean Walker. He's 31 though. You can play. Well, you got some guys on the Arizona side that you can play here. Arizona lines, they're always really tough for me to figure out. I got lucky on Hinostroza, Keller, and Stepan last game. Looks like they're the higher owned line. At least that's the way we have it projected right now. Good price for them. Dvorak, Schmaltz, and Fisher. Those are the two lines I'm pretty much splitting my exposure to. As far as the Coyotes tonight, it's always the worst trying to pick between those lines because they're usually cheap. They're usually owned. If I had to choose just one, it would probably be Dvorak, Schmaltz, Fisher because I think they're essentially the same. You get power play. Well, Keller's been awesome. 5,200, been shooting a lot. So give me some Keller if you're playing one-offs, you're playing 3-2-1 tonight. That's probably a guy you should mix in, or step on Keller. Dvorak, Schmaltz, Fisher. I mean, you can see how excited I am to play Arizona, right? Like they're 3.1 total. Everyone's probably going to freak out about the doubles. But if Arizona goes nuts tonight, you probably won't see me up at the top of the leaderboard. I don't think. Unless we get the Christian Fisher Hattie at very low ownership or something like that. Vatanen at 3,900 is, well, he's the Devils defenseman that I'm getting to a little bit. Man, they just do not have a lot to get excited about. They're brutal without Hall. Chikrin is my favorite guy on Arizona. Ekman Larson at 3,900, probably going to pick up some ownership here. And I suppose if I had to choose one of these min-salary guys, the minutes aren't great for him, but I suppose I would go with Osterley. He's only saw 15 last game, but he was up at almost 19 the last couple of games. His minutes jump around. Same thing with Vince Dunn. I saw someone ask about Vince Dunn. His minutes jump around seemingly more than anyone. Like he's at 22 some games. I'm like, all right, nice. They're gonna give him some run here, and maybe those are just some games where they have increased power plays or whatever. So his minutes look better, but like then he's down at 13, and it's like I have no idea what to ever make of this guy. Talking about Dunn, but he's a decent per 60 player that gets power play time, and he's 3,100. So yeah. Did you talk about Pitt 1? Yeah, I'm not playing a lot of Pitt 1 unless we see something weird pregame. If it's McCann, like if you can get a someone with the center designation, I'd be more likely to play them. They're probably going to have low ownership, so if you can make it work, if you're not just running 3-3s, they're a fine play. Canucks, Sharks, 3.1 applied total for Vancouver, 3.3 for the Sharks. Jacob Markstrom and Aaron Dell in net here. Weird lines for Vancouver this morning. I am not sure if they stick. Brock Besser on the third line. I'm not anywhere near confident that sticks. I think it's more than likely he's ending up with Pettersson and Miller. So what I might do is just play those guys all together, make that manual adjustment in FC, and let it ride for some Vancouver 2 shares, or Pettersson, Besser, Miller shares, I should say. Horvat, Pearson, Levo as your top line. Probably going to end up passing on that for the most part. I don't think it's like a great spot against the Sharks. Couture, Kane, and Meyer. There's your sexy line that everyone wants to play. But they're priced up now. They disappointed. Maybe this is a spot where you jump on at pretty muted ownership. So I like getting to some Logan Couture, some Evander Kane, and Timo Meyer. Their ownership is probably going to be a little bit lower than what it should, just based on people having recency bias. Hurdle Thornton and Kevin LeBanc, secondary line, or second line for the Sharks. They were actually pretty good last game, if I remember correctly. The Couture line was brutal at 5-on-5. They got crushed last game. I think I have that right. Yeah, it's Joe Thornton, and he's $3,500. So when the ownership was lower, I was more in on it. But let's see where we got him right now. Yeah, both of these lines are actually really low owned. Late night hammer for the Sharks. Right now, I'm not really there, but I'd like to get up to, like, if we got San Jose at 2%, I don't think you need to play 20% of them if you're multi-entering. What I'm thinking more is like, all right, let's play 6, 7, 8%, somewhere in there of SJ1. Vancouver 2, I mean, no one's going to have Miller, Pettersson, Besser, really, I don't think. So that's probably going to be the manual adjustment I make, kick off Virtanen, and go with like a Hughes with Vancouver 1 or the Pettersson line and hope you get hot on the power play. Markstrom playing very well. Markstrom's good, I think. I think he's good, right? Like I said, not great at assessing, certainly not goalie skill. Ray Rock, you're on Van. Nice. Well, there you go. Ray Rock's a really good player. So there you go, guys. I like attacking it with their top guys. Miller, Pettersson, Besser. Wow, that might be the most obvious thing I say. Out of a lot of obvious things I say, I like attacking it with their best players. There you go. Why doesn't everybody just do that? Right? That's what I'm trying to do. Just play the best players. Carlson, Burns, both back to being priced somewhat appropriately. Man, Burns, $7K for Burns. Like, he's not even showing up in my crunches at all. If you incorporate a lot, like if you have your own projections or whatever, like we have projections on the site too, like he doesn't come up that much. And we've even we're using data from last season as well, where he was a stud. All right, boom. Burns should not retire. Carlson at 6,400. That's the guy you go with if you're going with Couture, Kane, and Meyer. Okay, that's really all I got for you guys. Hopefully, maybe shed some light on a few things. Maybe said a couple obvious things. Confirmed your biases, whatever it is. I appreciate you guys watching. We've got 100 of you in here. That's pretty cool. Usually Saturdays is a lighter crowd, but if you guys could give us a like for me, for us, for the channel, that does really help us out. It helps us get more eyeballs on us, I think, and that's one of our goals here. If you're not a premium member and you want to learn more about becoming one or picking out the package for you, osmo.com/join is how you get there. 1% Hattie. Oh yeah. We need to start making this a thing. We do like dong picks for MLB. 1% owned Hattie. All right, we'll give you a 1% owned today. Boom. Usually it's 5%, but we got to get weird here. Let's see. We will go with. Oh, he's not 1%. He's over 1%. All right, we'll get someone that's under 1%. Someone that's pretty talented. Oh no, I'm choking right now. I'm scrolling through my exposures trying to find someone. All right, we'll give you someone that's maybe 2% or less than 2%. How about we get Evgeny Dadonov? I hope he gets a Hattie. Hoffman, good call. For whatever reason, I feel like Florida's going to score some goals. I'll probably eat my words here after they're getting shut out. Yeah, Florida won. Give me some Florida won. All right, cool guys. Thanks for watching. Check out the free stuff that we got. Fantasy point projections for NBA from the #1 player in DFS himself. NFL ownership projections. There you go. Yeah. I'm dropping the freeloaders. The freeloaders NHL stuff. Yeah, that's fine. No problem being a freeloader. You're not a freeloader anyways. I mean, if you're here watching, that helps us out too. But if you want to become a premium member, I would obviously not say no. Promo code Hit the Ice does work, I believe, with the weekly packages now. So you don't get that free month anymore. That expired last night. Go check out Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Go support them. They support us. So they're also helping us out. And we're trying to help them out in return. So when you sign up, go use promo code AWESEMO for up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Get in this $12 tournament. Compete against me. Come take my money over on Yahoo. $200 top prize. I'll probably get in this $3 too if it doesn't fill. But thanks, guys. As always, no show tomorrow. All about NFL tomorrow. And then Monday. What do we got going on Monday? Are we going to get a Slim Cliffy Monday? Let's see what we got. NHL schedule. How many days do we have? Or how many games, I should say. 4 games tomorrow. It'll probably be a 3-game slate. 5 games on Monday. There you have it. It'll be a Slim Cliffy Monday. Awesome. Good luck tonight, guys. Hit me up in Slack or Twitter or whatever if you got any questions about anything. I'll be around. Good luck.